Imagine a small island, so small yet so powerful that the world's greatest empires fought over it for centuries. Just a piece of land, but it carries the footprints of the Greeks, Romans, Byzantines, Crusaders, and Ottomans. Countless civilizations have walked here. Their traces are still scattered all across the island. In this video, we are going to explore the fascinating history of Cyprus and the historical landmarks that tell its story. Hello beautiful people, welcome back to Traveler Glory. Today, we are taking a time machine back into Cyprus's past to uncover how centuries of empire and invasion shaped the island we see today. But before we start, if you haven't subscribed our channel yet, then subscribe right now and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future adventure. Let's begin. To understand Cyprus's history, we need to travel back nearly 10,000 years. Back to around 8,200 BCE, the very first traces of civilization found on this island. The pyramids didn't even exist then, but humans were already settling in Cyprus. Surprising, isn't it? The first inhabitants likely came from nearby regions, perhaps the Middle East or North Africa. They were farmers and herders, and they built circular stone houses, entire villages. One of the most fascinating examples is Hoirokoitia, a prehistoric village where people lived over 8,000 years ago. The stone houses are still there. It's hard to believe humans built an organized community here so long ago. Today, Hoirokoitia is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, recognized as one of Europe's most important and best preserved prehistoric settlements. Interestingly, Cyprus has no large wild animals. Long ago, there were dwarf elephants and pygmy hippos, but they went extinct nearly 14,000 years ago. How the first settlers later disappeared is still one of the great mysteries. Now we've entered the Bronze Age, around 3900 BCE, when Cyprus became known to the world as the Copper Island. In fact, the very name Cyprus is believed to have come from cuprum, the Latin word for copper. During this time, Cyprus flourished as a major trade hub. Merchants from Egypt, Greece, and Syria would come here to exchange goods. One fascinating site is Enkomi, where archaeologists found ancient copper furnaces and Greek-style statues. This evidence of a highly advanced civilization that lasted here until around 330 BCE. In 333 BCE, after the conquests of Alexander the Great, Cyprus became deeply influenced by Greek culture. The capital at that time was Salamis, a magnificent city with theaters, bathhouses, and grand temples. Even today, when you walk through the ruins of Salamis, you can still feel the echoes of ancient Greek glory. Then came the Roman era. In 58 BCE, Cyprus became an important province of the Roman Empire. The most stunning example from this time is Kurion, with its amphitheater, Roman baths, and breathtaking mosaics that still survive in amazing condition. The Romans ruled Cyprus until 330 CE. This was also the time when Christianity first began to spread across the island. It's said that Saint Paul and Saint Barnabas came here to preach Christianity, making Cyprus one of the first European regions to embrace the new faith. After the Roman Empire split, Cyprus came under Byzantine rule around 330 CE. This period saw the rise of countless churches all over the island. The most famous is the Caicos Monastery, still one of the wealthiest monasteries in Cyprus. The small painted churches of the Troodos Mountains are also UNESCO protected for their extraordinary mosaics. During this time, Cyprus became a vital center of Christian heritage. This period feels straight out of a movie. In 1191, on his way to the Crusades, King Richard the Lionheart of England conquered Cyprus. Later, he sold the island to the Knights Templar. The Colossi Castle, built during this era, became one of the main bases for the Crusader Knights, and it still stands tall today, a silent witness to history. Back then, Cyprus was famous for producing the legendary Commandaria wine, one of the oldest named wines in the world, a tradition that continues even today. In 1489, Cyprus came under Venetian rule. Fearing the advancing Ottoman Turks, the Venetians transformed the island into a massive military fortress. They built the iconic defensive walls of Nicosia and Famagusta, which still stand today, a reminder of their determination to defend the island. Even now, as you walk through the old cities, you can sense the Venetian touch in the narrow streets, old churches, and historic buildings. After the Venetians, a new era began. The Ottoman Empire reshaped Cyprus's history. In 1571, the Ottomans conquered the island and ruled it for nearly 300 years. During their rule, magnificent examples of Ottoman architecture were built, including mosques, hammams, Turkish baths, and grand caravanserais. Among them stands the Selimiye Mosque in Nicosia, once the Saint Sophia Cathedral, and the famous Büyük Khan, one of the most beautiful historical inns in the city. Ottoman influence went far beyond architecture. It changed the island's culture, from its coffee traditions and attire to food and daily life. Even today, a walk through the old quarters of Nicosia or Famagusta reveals traces of that rich Ottoman heritage. One striking example is the Lala Mustafa Pasha Mosque in Famagusta, originally a Gothic cathedral, later converted into a mosque, a perfect blend of two civilizations. The Ottoman period also brought significant social changes. A new Turkish-speaking Muslim population settled here, laying the foundation for the island's modern-day cultural and ethnic mix. In 1878, the Ottomans handed over administrative control of Cyprus to the British Empire. By 1914, Cyprus had become a full-fledged British colony. Under British rule, the island saw the construction of modern roads, schools, and government buildings. But alongside modernization, the demand for independence grew louder and louder. At the same time, divisions between the Greek and Turkish communities began to deepen. In the dense Mahiras forest of the Troodos Mountains, the seeds of revolution were sown, where the Ioka organization waged an armed struggle against British colonial forces in the name of freedom. After years of struggle, Cyprus finally gained independence from Britain on August 16, 1960. However, the newly drafted constitution divided political power between the Greek Cypriot and Turkish Cypriot communities, a fragile balance that didn't last long. By 1963, tensions and mistrust between the two groups escalated into violent communal clashes. The situation reached its breaking point in 1974, when a coup, backed by the Greek military junta, attempted to unite Cyprus with Greece. In response, Turkey launched a military operation in the north, claiming to protect Turkish Cypriots. Within weeks, Turkish forces occupied about 36% of the island. Since then, Cyprus has remained divided. The southern part, the Republic of Cyprus, is internationally recognized and a member of the European Union. The northern part, known as the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, is recognized only by Turkey. The capital, Nicosia, remains the world's last divided capital city, separated by a UN-controlled buffer zone called the Green Line. From the mythical birthplace of the goddess of love to a battlefield of empires, and finally, a divided modern nation, the story of Cyprus reads like an epic still being written. Greek temples, Roman theaters, Byzantine churches, Crusader castles, Venetian walls, and Ottoman mosques. Each monument carved into the island's landscape tells a tale of conquest, faith, and resilience. Every civilization has left its mark here, blending together into the unique and beautiful mosaic that is Cyprus.